There we go. So now we're recording. So yeah, thanks Jeff and Lauren for being here. And I was hoping today to just talk about probably the products that will come from this and who's willing to help. So maybe whoever's not here, we can just tell them they're going to help. How about that?
Nice.
Yeah. I think we've talked about this in the past, but I see really two main products. If you see on the screen, the first one, which it'd probably be a little quicker, and I don't even know if it's a legitimate paper or not, just based on the fact that I pulled data from a whole bunch of different national data sets that may have different methodologies and other things going on, but is to develop, a quantitative paper looking at all those many different social, physical, weather, natural environment, county level variables that I pulled from, whatever data site I could pull, like BRFSS, the environmental public health tracking, all those things. So I think what I'm going to do is, I don't know, Jeff or Lauren, if you have any comments. Jeff, maybe you might have more experience with this kind of bigger picture data set.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's perfectly feasible. I mean, since the unit of analysis isn't individuals, it's counties. I think it's pretty much the norm to have disparate data sources brought together and linked on some county identifier.
Right.
I mean, we did it at the city level for a parking prices paper that we did a couple years ago, and it was fine.
Okay. And then
I think that's fine.
Yep. Hey, Mike, thanks for joining in. One of the other limitations is that the original paper identifying the positive deviants, it was based on estimates from potentially some of the same variables. Like they were estimating physical activity for those rural counties. So I need somebody who's really well versed in reading that kind of a paper and thinking about these things to really jump on. So Jeff, if that's you and you're willing and able, I don't know what kind of, if you have to go through bureaucratic stuff or what.
Yeah, I'm happy to read over the methods of the original paper that identified the physical activity levels, and I think at the bare minimum we can just come up with a list of things that we shouldn't call outcome variables predictors of physical activity at the county level because they were used in the prediction model. Okay. But I think you would just need to make sure that you're very clear with the way that you phrase things. So, you could say that, X county level variable is associated with predicted levels of physical activity in these counties. But I think that's probably pretty doable.
Sure.
But I would warn you that I'm happy to do that, but it's probably better that I'm not a co-author on the paper, just because it would have to go through CDC clearance, and that adds months and months and months of time. Okay.
So maybe what I'll do, you might have this paper, but I can send it to you again, that Dwyer-Lindgren paper.
Yeah, I probably do, but if you've got it handy, if you could shoot it over, I'd appreciate it.
Yep, will do.
Cool.
Yep. Hey, Mike Edwards, how are you?
Hey, doing all right.
Good.
Trying to get some grading done.
Yeah, understood. So we're just talking about likely two papers coming out of the what we've done so far, and the first is the county level data, and just doing probably a some kind of predictor or associated some kind of multiple regression or logistic regression analysis of the county level, all the different data sets pulled in with the outcome, quote unquote, of the that small area estimation paper, the physical activity prevalence in the rural counties, well, in all counties. But so I was going to send that to Jeff to take a look at the methods from that original paper and just see where to go from there. We'll definitely need a biostatistician on it that's familiar with these data sets probably. So start thinking on that front. The other one, which is going to be more laborious, is the qualitative stuff that we did in Texas. So you can see my screen, I think, and we have a really good qualitative person here. I've been talking with her a little bit. So let me just run through real quick a couple of reminders about it. We were trying to do the comparative case study, sort of going back to the roots, kind of an open-ended, what works in rural physical activity. 2 positive deviant counties from Texas and 1 negative, I'll call it. I have listed on the screen, if you guys can see it, I'll highlight them, the stakeholder interview questions. And really, it was pretty wide open, to be honest. I followed those, but did a lot of probing beneath. So that's just a reminder of sort of the approach and what was in the questions. You can see. So really, I think what I tried to lay out some of the things we might need to talk about. What qualitative method. I've been given a recommendation to look at just sort of a qualitative descriptive method, and just a quote from one of the key papers on it. Just keep it pretty surface of what people are telling you. Very eclectic. And when you just kind of want to describe a phenomenon or phenomena. So there's that. So I'll just run through this and then, get your feedback. I'd be interested in what you guys have done before. Potentially, so there are 2 different approaches, right? Do an open code, sort of no categories going in, no structured, look for X, Y, and Z going in, or do a directed coding. And I just have that example of the Angelo framework that what Swinburne has used, where we would look for specific categories of environment type mentioned. So, I have my thoughts on that. And what do you all think about which kind of approach to use, and maybe what you've done and what might fit?
I only have experience with open code. I used that in my thesis.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of me too. When I've done qualitative, it's pretty much been the open axial and selective coding from there. So.
Okay. Okay. So that's what my feeling was, since we're trying to make the case that we really have formed our thought based on urban. So let's go back to the roots and just see what rural folks are telling us. Okay. How about this idea, just a very descriptive, surface level, staying close to it? Do we want to do a lot of interpretation of it, or does the interpretation come from structuring our codes into categories and themes? Or something that I didn't say? Or is there another approach, another way of thinking of it that you guys have used that might inform the way we look at it?
I'm just going to grab my textbook on qualitative interviewing. One sec.
Yeah, Christian, I'm afraid I have no experience whatsoever with qualitative research.
All right. You do now.
Yeah.
I would say, we're not gonna be writing any, grounded theory or anything for this, but just a thematic analysis and kind of, I'm almost thinking about, the analysis we did on my 2 rural case studies in JRL back in 2011. Mm-hmm. Was pretty much that. We did key informant interviews. We had the open coding, axial coding, and coming up with the emergent themes, and just kind of just very descriptive. Mm-hmm. Here's kind of what's happening, and we're not trying to write theories. These are the areas in which we need to be thinking more about research in the future related to rural communities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you think about the way I presented it, it was the county as the unit, right? So each county is a unit of analysis, and then with a little bit of a comparison between each county, because we also have the 2 positive deviant counties versus the 1 negative. Different way of analyzing, but
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, I mean, when my qualitative article was focused on 2 counties in North Carolina that had 2 different, from my dissertation, had 2 different sets of environments for physical activity, even though they were, similar in terms of economic status, in terms of population, in terms of area, et cetera. But I wanted to kind of understand what was going on, and so they were really, and the article that I published was more about what was similar than necessarily what was different, but that was kind of going in. That was like, let's look at those points of convergence and divergence.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I was taught to approach it was we don't really come up with any meaning. We come up with our interpretation of the meaning that the participants provided. So
it's supposed to be what they perceive, what their meaning. We provide some interpretation, but we don't ascribe that meaning.
Yeah, right. And I think the only thing, and I'm sure you were thinking of this already, but having some triangulation worked into this method would be important.
Yeah, good point. I mean, trying to think of whether it's my observation, having been on the ground, or, in a couple places, one Megan was there and then one Renee was there.
If you have field notes, if we can go back and do some member checks, things like that. Then...
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could go back with some results and, sort of what we got, present it back to the extension agent that was guiding. I have a bunch of notes for each place too. So, okay. Yeah, good points. Thank you all. I'm just taking some quick notes. Okay. So other logistics to think about, and I'm highlighting them on screen. The use of in vivo or not. We've had some training here, and our qualitative person said sometimes it's really good for setting up your structure, but not for any, and then go back and read using that structure without doing a whole bunch of other analysis or anything else. I just don't know the bells and whistles. So for simplicity's sake, I might not, but I don't know what other people think. And then, basically who's going to do the work and how. If you look at how many interviews and how many transcripts I have, the first 2 are the positive deviant counties, 5 in the first and 4 in the second county. The second county, the key person did want to be recorded, so a lot of it was note taking. And then the third county, the negative one, I have 8 transcripts.
How much data is that? How long were the transcripts?
Let me look real quick. Actually, let me pull up. I just have to open a PDF real quick. I have 100 pages from the negative deviant county.
Nice.
Yeah. And 25 from county 2. And 51 from county 1. That's set up here. I'll show you real quick how they're set up with times and everything on. So actually, this is a PDF of like all of them combined. I have them in Word, of course. So. And yeah, you can see it was done by rev.com. El Cheapo Guapo.
Oh, that's way better than doing it yourself, which is what I did for my thesis.
We all have to go through that pain once.
I know.
Never again.
Nope.
So that's, it's a good point of how many pages. So 50, 25, and 100, basically. The other question is, and this is something, it's just been a while since I've put together like a protocol and structures for a qualitative do we go with like 2 or 3 readers, maybe one for each county, and develop the codes, the sort of memos and codes for those, and then compare across? And then one reader takes over, or I'm trying to remember. I know there are steps I'm forgetting. How about you guys? What do you remember as how to do it?
It's a good question.
It's like, wait a minute, I totally forgot my methods.
And I've worked with so many different qualitative methods people who all do it and swear by very different approaches. So it's almost like we just need to pick one and go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking of the logistics of this and how much reading it would involve, and nobody's getting paid. Yep. What do you think is the easiest way to split the burden?
I'd almost say one per county, but maybe someone could split the negative deviant county.
Yeah.
As for initial review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be 25 pages for one, 50, and then 50 and 50. Okay. And then and then 2, 4. I'm just making note again. And then so everybody then would just write up, I guess essentially mark up a transcript, maybe use Word, and we could either use Word and put in, comment bubbles. I've seen that done, sort of the codes, sort of the chunks of text and the code, and then basically compare, and then list out all the codes.
Yeah, I personally would maybe think about having. I don't have a lot of experience with this, so if this is wrong, let me know. But like a little bit more detail in the instructions you give the readers. So like, for example, you might say, do a quick read through. The textbook I have sort of has a step-by-step of what this author thinks is the best. But you do a quick read through, and then you go back and highlight chunks, and then you go back and assign keywords as codes or whatever we wanted the structure to be, but try to make sure everyone's roughly following the same path.
Right.
I think would be good.
Yeah, I think hopefully what comes out of today is sort of the protocol for the readers.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely read once and then go back, reread and chunk it and apply a code to them. Yeah. And I've heard from people managing, 6 readers that have just said, I just use Word, chunk it, and put a comment in, which is the code for it.
That sounds great to me.
Yeah, I've done. I was called sort of a down and dirty qualitative study, and that's usually sufficient for that. So.
Yeah. I know there's even the cut and paste method, or the what is it? The paper and scissors method or something.
Yep.
Where you actually use, it's like somebody actually used that term as a method.
I have former students that's what they did, and colleagues that's what they do, and so.
Whew. Remember, don't print double-sided if you do that. I did that with a class. I was like, oh, I printed a double-sided.
And you've got qualitative Methodists who say that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, I'm a very visual guy, and I remember doing that, putting it on note cards and all kinds, and then move the note cards around and stuff, which appealed to me. But okay, so essentially, I appreciate everybody's comments. So essentially, 4 readers, 1 for each of the positive deviant counties, so that's 2, and then 2 for the negative deviant county, so split it at about 50 pages each. First, do a read through, then chunk it and apply a code in a comment bubble in Word, and then get back together and talk about the codes do a compare documents in Word, including the comment bubbles. And from the comment bubbles, that would be sort of a first shot at a code list, and then discuss from there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then after that, one person goes back, right, and reads them all. That would be me, probably. Yeah. Okay. And then, of course, whoever does this work is starting to move up in the order of authorship. Code all. Okay. So now, who's going to do the work? Anybody on here want to?
What's your timeline?
I would say, honestly, it's not in the next month or so. So probably in June, July, actually, probably by the end of July, to have it done. So maybe the reading in June, sort of the first pass.
Yeah.
After the semester's over, all that. And I have 2 doc students finishing in June, so.
Nice.
And I'm going on vacation.
Yeah. I think I could take one chunk.
Okay.
I am going on a giant canoe trip in end of June, so I would probably try to get my read through done before then.
Okay.
It's a possibility I could do some of this. I'm loath to commit myself right now.
Okay.
So I can sort of figure out once I get through the next couple of weeks what my summer is going to look like.
I'll put you on the alternate list.
Yeah. But if I can figure it out, I'd love to be involved. If I can figure out how to make it work, I will do it.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get Renee and or Megan, since they were there. They're in Texas, might be able to, apply a level of understanding that we wouldn't. So Lauren, since you volunteered first, you get the shortest one.
Nice. I appreciate that.
25. I'll get you the shortest one. But that's the one where there are a bunch of notes too, because the person wasn't recorded, didn't want to be recorded.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's pretty. I'm trying to think. I'll type up a protocol, a methods doc for the people reading, and some notes from today. I'm trying to think. And then Jeff, I will share the paper with you from Dwyer Lindgren.
I found it while
okay.
While you were talking, so I'm good.
And
I'll digest that and get back to you with my thoughts on it.
Okay, that'd be awesome. I think I've typed up where I have a pseudo data book, and I'll share that with you just so you know where I got what data or what variables I have and from where.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get that to you so you can see what's going on.
Cool.
Okay. I feel like that's pretty good for a spring afternoon here.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go back out in the sun. Got the mountain bike out and I'm getting it muddy already.
There you go.
Okay, so I will try to get a few more readers, get a protocol for the readers. I really appreciate everybody's comments. And try to get, obviously I'll be one of the primary readers. I might just throw myself on the grenade and read the whole negative one, depending on who else we get to volunteer. I assume Renee is super busy, and I know Megan, who's a doc student, is eager to help, but does she have the time? I don't know, realistically. So we'll see what the Baylor crew says. All right,
good.
and then I'll send out some notes, some minutes, and we will schedule another call. I assume late May, early June, probably late May, after semesters are done and before we all go gallivanting out on our wonderful vacations. Does that sound about right? Something in late May?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
Is anybody
Hey.
else going to ACSM in May, early June?
Not I.
Not I.
No.
Gotcha.
Where is it?
Minneapolis this year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a massive con. I've been once before and I was just overwhelmed.
The conference?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's big. It's it can leave you with your head spinning. I try to ignore all the physiology and just stick to the applied stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Anybody else?
All right.
Open mic time. Anybody else have other comments or questions?
Christian, I was wondering if I could pick your brain for 5 minutes after at the end here.
Okay. Yeah, I'll stay on and I will stop recording. Mike, anything for the good of the order?
Nope, I'm good.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of the semester. Jeff, enjoy the pollen.
Yeah, thanks. I will.
Exactly.
Lauren,
All right.
stay on. I'm going to stop recording.
All right.